Not at all. It was destiny, and then another partition of India is also the destiny. See, the Hindus and Muslims as a community have never lived together. They have only lived together because that was the reality, that you are living together next door, as simple as that. The Hindu-Muslim unity never existed throughout the history. Whatever unity between Hindus and Muslims you talk about was simply because, that most of the people who are Muslims in India, they are converts from different Hindu castes. So they carried with them the old traditions, old customs, old relations, and that is what you see as the unity. Like up until like few decades back in the Western UP, the Jats and the Muslim Jats especially, I mean, you cannot distinguish between them because they would be so united with each other socially, not because of the religion, but because of their common gotra and the caste and all. So whatever unity you saw or you see is because of that. Other thing is that because in the urban centers, you had this emergence of the new feudal culture, in which the Hindus were also landlord, the Muslims were also landlord, and there was some intermingling. Obviously, you're living together for centuries, so there will be certain intermingling and some kind of common culture will evolve. But that was also always very flimsy. That was very limited. So first of all, Hindus and Muslims are two different civilizations. There should not be any doubt about it, right? And this is the entire problem out here. And this is not just India's problem. That's a problem all over the world. That Islam demands not just religious allegiance, but also civilizational allegiance. I think Naipaul wrote about it that there is no imperialism like Islamic imperialism, because the converts, not only his God changes, but is also his sense of history changes, his sense of identity changes, his sense of culture changes, his civilizational worldview changes. So I think that was a very foregone conclusion. The Hindus and Muslims lived together under autocratic rule, earlier under the Mughals or the Turks or maybe the British or the Marathas. So there was no concept of democracy, there was no concept of popular rule. So it was possible to keep different populations together. But once the modernity arrives and the modern political structures arrive, especially the democracy, when numbers start becoming prominent, then Muslim elite said, no, we can't live under the Hindu. And they were right about it. Why should we blame them, right? They have a very clear-cut view of what they want. And what they wanted in the 40s and the 30s is the Hindus who were always confused about it, Rohan. So, and here you also remember that India's freedom struggle or independence movement was always a Hindu movement. I mean, there was hardly any substantial Muslim participation in it. No matter how many lies were told by the liberal historians or the left-wing historians, Muslims did not participate in the India's modern political freedom struggle. Did participate in the 1857 revolt, but after that they did not. And wherever they participated was basically on the plank of the religious line, not on the national line. So Gandhi's Khilafat movement, right? Gandhi as the leader of jihad. That is where you have one substantial participation of Muslims in this movement, but for Khilafat, for saving the Turkey, not for India's independence, right? Never forget that. And after that, there was no substantial participation. Now, of course, India is a large country. India always had large population. So even if 10 or 20% Muslims were participating, that itself is a large number. And you will find lots of names spread across the country. I mean, they have no doubt. They have no confusion. Their ideological point is clear. Their concepts are clear. Their construct is clear. And they are more logical than the Hindu. Right? So they know what is happening. They know what they want. And I think there was nothing surprising for me if you look back at the India's partition. It was simply that a proportion or a section of the population changed its allegiance towards a different civilization narrative. They no longer see themselves as the part of the Indian civilization. So it was civilization fault line manifesting itself into national boundaries.